I'm Richard Dolan here with Jordan Pease, and we're in Maui, hence the Hawaiian look here. And for those people who attend a lot of conferences and are interested in out-of-the-box type of thinking, a lot of them will know who Jordan is, particularly if you go to some of the really cool events that he's organized. But Jordan's not one of the guys who gets behind the microphone, so you wouldn't necessarily know him. We've been friends for a long time, however, and we're going to talk about an event that you have organized that I'm appearing in, my wife Tracey is going to be in, and a lot of other fascinating people are going to be in. Architects of the New Paradigm. This is a series you've organized now for 5 years? Or what? Long time.
Seattle will be the 6th annual event.
Amazing. And this one's called Mind Gaming. So for me, this is a different kind of an event, to be honest. Like, it's not something that I've ever done before, and that's why I'm looking forward to it. You know, how to be creative. For me, how to maintain your independence as we move further and further into the 21st century. Something that I fixate on all the time. You know, how do I do it? And so this event for me, I'm really looking forward to, because it allows me to talk about things that are very near and dear to my heart, which is maintaining the kind of sovereignty of your mind, as it were, in the face of a whole lot of pressure all around us from everywhere to make us think, make us behave in a certain way. So for that reason, I personally like the idea of doing this event. What were your thoughts about wanting to organize this, and what were your goals in wanting to do this event, which, by the way, is going to be March, what's the date? You got your, I don't know if we can see that on the camera. March 21st, 22nd, Seattle, anpconference.com. We'll come back to that again, but.
Richard, thanks for this opportunity. You readily agreed to be a presenter at this conference again. Richard's spoken for us at previous conferences also. So the Architects of the New Paradigm series is a sequence of conferences that are ideally designed to build on each other in a progression of a educational trajectory. So that's something of an idealistic idea, but the intention behind it is sincere in that we're approaching subjects that are difficult to approach. A lot of the phrases we use in our languaging as we present these conferences as down the rabbit hole and take the blinders off and include other people in the discussion. So our conferences are distinguished from other events in that it's not a passive sit and listen experience. I make this gesture, meaning we bring our presenters on level field with the audience, so everybody is an architect in that regard. And there are great ideas that the attendees bring to the discussion, so our conferences are very participatory in that sense. So you engage, the attendees will engage.
But you should probably say, like, for people who are thinking, I don't want to have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to do anything either.
Good point.
You can just go and enjoy and listen if that's what you want to do.
I'm glad you included that, because of course nobody's obligated to do anything if they choose not to, so there's not any kind of pressure or forced participatory event.
I will just say, for my lecture, the entire front row, you will get wet. Just leaving it at that. Okay.
Talk about involving the audience. So,
kidding.
This is our 6th year, Seattle, March 21, 22, 2020, in it's actually Bellevue, Washington, which is a suburb, at a very nice venue, Embassy Suites there. The auditorium holds 400 people. We're going to sell that out. And it's a very well-organized event. Something else that distinguishes us from other conferences is we are stickler about the schedule and, you know, attention to detail in all aspects. The audience is our guests, and we treat them as such. So it's a very welcoming environment. And we are so appreciative of the kinds of people that come to our conferences that are engaged and are concerned about the world and want to make the world a better place and build skills, build awareness in understanding the ultimate challenges, the meta challenges, I like to call them, that face our world, that a lot of people just haven't gotten there yet. So we're privileged to get the kind of audiences that we get that are engaged.
So who are some of the other presenters? You've got a number of very interesting people who are there, many of whom I have not met. So, like, there's a lot of new names for me, and I'm just curious what their approach is or what their ideas might be.
Yeah, I'll run down the list of names, but I encourage the viewers to go look at our website, anpconference.com. So I'm just going to go down the list here as their pictures are in front of me. So a man named Adam Curry is going to speak about consciousness and technology. He has some really interesting inventions. He's an entrepreneur, tech inventor type. young man. He's in his 30s. Very brilliant, great speaker, personable. All our presenters, I'm going to say parenthetically, are how do you say, approachable. Attendees get to interact with the presenters, and the presenters are happy to do it. The cocktail party is a great opportunity on Saturday night to get to know the presenters, but everybody has their meals together. The tickets prices includes the meals, buffet, lunch and dinner.
I'll be interested in the consciousness and technology lecture, because there's a lot of places you could go there in terms of that, how technology can raise or lower or expand or contract our consciousness. I'm just thinking of, you could just be playing video games all day long, and is that really helping your consciousness? I'm going to guess no, but there are probably other things in terms of employing contemporary tech that might be very useful, and I'm sure he knows a lot of those.
He's developed some very interesting things, and he's going to bring some of his contraptions. It's the wrong word to use. It's high
I like
tech.
to say gizmos. That's my preferred word.
Interesting things. He'll tell some really interesting stories about a couple of projects he's already deployed and have been deployed for a while that are bringing some interesting results to people individually, but also to social scientists that are studying some interesting aspects of this. One of his close colleagues, this is Adam Curry I'm speaking about, is a woman named Cassandra Wheaton, who is the past president of the Institute of Noetic Sciences in Petaluma, California.
She will be here. She's one of the people attending.
This is Cassandra Wheaton, who's again a colleague of Adam Curry's, so they have done interesting work together. This is the Edgar Mitchell founded organization in California, Institute of Noetic Sciences. She's still on their board of regents, Cassandra Wheaton, but she served as their president for a decade or longer, I think. Very close to that organization. Then, of course, we have Richard Dolan. Richard's beautiful wife, Tracey Garbutt, is going to be speaking about remote viewing. Why don't you introduce to the people what remote viewing is? A lot of people aren't familiar with that term, I think.
Tracey is one of a number of people who have been trained in what is known as remote viewing. And it's, as you can imagine, I think a lot of people know what it is now. It's kind of a widely understood concept, but it's essentially being able to see or know or perceive things that we don't really understand how this happens, like that are too far away or in space or time, that you're not supposed to be able to get these impressions, but people do. And of course, famously, the CIA trained remote viewers back in the 1970s and 80s, as did, we believe, the Russians. And they did it because it appears to work. And does it work 100% of the time? No. Does it work with complete finalized accuracy? That's very seldom indeed. But there are way more hits, as it were, than should be by any kind of materialistic, logical, scientific paradigm. Like, we don't really understand. In my opinion, I've not found anyone who's been able to explain why it is possible to accurately perceive something that's 2,000, 3,000 or more miles away, which she has done and other people have done.
I'm well aware, and I'm really glad to have this particular topic, remote viewing, brought to our conference about accessing advanced states of creativity and innovation. And what's surprising to people, because I'm sure you've been to conferences as well, where these quick little experiential exercises are done with the audience, how accurately the average person sitting in an audience with a short course about what the techniques are able to come up with some pretty good hits. It's remarkable.
People are blown away. Typically, when some remote viewer does this type of, and that happens frequently enough now that, like Russell Targ, who's actually a friend of mine and of Tracey's, who's now become legendary as the remote viewing guru, really, of the modern world. But Russell will, when he gives lectures, he will end them by having a remote view for the audience. And inevitably, there's a large number of people who have uncanny hits, as it were.
The experiences I've had, including fairly recently at a conference, uncanny.
One thing I'll just say about Tracey's approach to this is she believes that what we do when one remote views is, you're accessing a part of your mind and you're connecting your mind to a wider reality, absolutely. But she's really come to argue that the images and the symbols that come to you when you do a remote view are things that you need to learn to interpret because it's your mind's inner language. That is, when people are creating, because when you do a remote view, you got a piece of paper and a pencil and you're drawing what you see. or drawing what you are intuiting.
It's a very rigorous set of protocols when you do what's called
Yes.
technical remote viewing, developed by Stanford Research Institute in the
That's right.
70s. So it's a very rigorous protocol that needs to be followed to the letter to get usable results. But that's another
Right.
level beyond what the people
Yeah.
in our audience will be doing. Go
But she
ahead.
believes that it speaks to a kind of an internal language of the mind, and that it's by going through this type of protocol or other types of disciplines like meditation and similar, that you can actually get in touch with the inner language of your mind. It's a really interesting idea, and she's exploring it, and I know she's going to be talking about that a bit at her event.
All these people are fantastic presenters. Tracey particularly has taken it very, very seriously. This is the second time she's presented for us, I think, right?
Well, it's the third or fourth lecture. She's not been out there on the conference circuit for a while, but she's done a few now, and
She
takes to
prepares
it well.
to the nth, which
Yes.
I appreciate very much. All these presentations, the lectures on Saturday and then the intensives on Sunday, all include a significant multimedia component, so PowerPoint slides and other multimedia accoutrements to the lectures themselves to help illustrate the
I
point.
just want to say, like, what I like about what you're doing and what all of these speakers clearly are doing is, again, it's really a way to empower people to take charge of their own mind. Like, we all know, you go through your life, and a lot of our lives are kind of on autopilot, because it kind of has to be. You got jobs, you got things you need to do, like you do them over and over again, and you're just in your zone, and that's normal. And I don't think it's fair to expect someone to be totally hyper conscious every single moment of their life. But I think if there's a common theme here, at least one of the themes is finding ways of becoming more aware, maybe even in your daily life, so that you're not just reacting to stimuli all the time, but actually taking charge and making the decisions of what you want to react to. I mean, it's definitely what I'm about here. And I'll just say one more time, like I have definitely come to feel in our world that there's an increase, not a decrease, an increase of pressure on people to behave and think in certain ways. And I think it's in a much more, not less, a more conformist way. I think that there are definite reasons for this on a global scale. But I also think that there are strategies that we can take to maintain that classical independence that I think most of us want.
Autonomy and independence,
Autonomy.
the way that you have used it.
Which would leads to creative thinking and
Yes.
creative solutions. I feel like you've got to have some sense of independence in order really to truly to be creative.
I think what Richard is saying when he says independence is independent from a mainstream media with a particular agenda.
Oh boy, yes.
So that's what I think you mean by the independence.
That's a big part
Free
of it.
thinker outside
Big part
the
of it.
box. So it's
part
difficult
of it.
sometimes to describe the kinds of things that we do without using old cliches about ideas. But
Mainstream media, social media will be part of my conversation. There's a world of digital pressure that's on us now that just didn't exist in a prior generation. Anyone who's like under 30 years of age, they don't remember the before times. I do. And I'm not saying let's all go back there. That's kind of silly. But there were some advantages, I must say, to not having a literally 24/7 digital media environment that you're just bathing in all the time mentally. And I feel like there got to be ways to unplug, push it, keep it away at arm's length. And again, these are strategies that I think about a lot.
the title of Tracey's lecture, The Final Frontier is in Here,
Yeah.
Remote Viewing and How to Unlock the Creative Subconscious as a Doorway to Our Great Unknown.
Exactly.
That's her lecture. Then her workshop, the intensive on the Sunday, The Final Frontier is in Here, and then Access Your Mind's Deeper Innovative Landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really excited about how she's going to bring the skills of the remote viewing modalities into information about how people can use this in their lives, in their careers, to enhance and strengthen their creativity and innovation abilities. Another man who hasn't spoken for the architects of the new paradigm before is a man named William Guillory, PhD. He's going to give a keynote on Saturday night, and the title of that is Higher Order Creativity, Quantum Thinking, and Consciousness Exploration. This man has had a very interesting career, among other things, consults with tech companies about this exact subject, is how we found him, and has worked with companies in the Seattle area.
Higher order creativity. I'd like to hear more about that.
Quantum
thinking. I'd love to know what that is. And consciousness exploration. Sounds interesting, though.
So we're looking forward to that one, too. Unfortunately, he's not able to stay the second day, so he's only going to give one presentation. All the rest of these presenters give two on the Saturday and the Sunday. So that's William Guillory, PhD. Then Cassandra Vieten, we talked about. Her lecture title is The Art and Science of Imagination. All of these people I should have mentioned at the top, all of our presenters have recorded 20-minute, we call them speaker spotlight interviews that are on the page of our website, so you can hear from these people yourselves speaking.
We'll have that link below. So do check it out. Look at the anpconference.com site, particularly if you're going to be in or near the Seattle area. It's worth looking at. And also you have a YouTube channel, if I can
Yes.
jump in there.
Some of the past conferences that we've done, and again, this is the 6th annual conference. I think there's 43 videos on the YouTube channel from past conferences. I also should mention the sponsoring organization of Architects of the New Paradigm is an organization that we run in Ashland, Oregon called the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library. And we've been diligently doing the work there since 2001 in Ashland, Oregon. We have a very large book and video lending library there that the local community loves.
It is actually the coolest library ever, which is what Tracey and I call it. It really is. I haven't even been in it, so I'm embarrassed to say, but I've seen all the images, pictures of it, talked to you about it. It's basically an amazing collection of, let's call it alternative literature on a whole range of topics. Is that a fair way to put it?
Whole range of Thank you, Richard, for the compliment. And we're very proud of our presentation. It's very just like a public library. We like to call it library cards and Dewey Decimal System. But the metaphysical part of our name, Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library, is a bit of a misnomer. As we all know, that term metaphysics has a bit of a negative connotation, unfortunately, in the society that people easily equate with kind of specious, flaky subjects. So I'm glad you said the idea of a whole range of topics, because it really is. So we're way beyond just, classical studies of metaphysics. That's a branch of philosophy seeking to understand the underlying causes of all things, I think is one of the dictionary definitions of metaphysics. It's a philosophical idea. So we're all about practical metaphysics, or applied metaphysics, I often like to call it. So certainly have a lot of personal development materials there, including, parenting, business skills, how to be a better citizen, how to be a better husband, how to be a better wife, how to be a better parent. These kinds of things is something we very much focus on. And that's why it's a natural outgrowth of the library's work that we'd start organizing the conferences in 2015 to take our work to other communities. Only twice now has the Architects of the New Paradigm been in our own small community of Ashland, Oregon, and Southern Oregon, Rogue Valley area, small communities. So we'd like to take it to other places. So that's why Seattle's a choice. Oh, and I'll come back to the last few speakers here in a minute, but I didn't get a chance to speak to kind of the philosophy about what Architects of the New Paradigm is endeavoring to do, and this idea that it is a series of conferences that are, again, ideally designed to build upon each other. Not that we expect people to attend every single conference, but you can watch the videos in rough order to kind of see what we are getting at. So this is the first conference of the series, the 6th year, that is actually much more applied skills than anything in the past has been. So we kind of laid some groundwork about, what's at the bottom of those rabbit holes and what happens when you really take your blinders off fully and understand the kinds of things that have been happening behind the scenes to kind of explain why our world is the way it is, and of course seek to redress and get creative ideas from the audience delivered by the presenters that ideally ultimately can be deployed in societies and communities and families to help redress the challenges that we're experiencing. This is all on our About page too, in a little bit better language than I'm able to do right here. So I just want to make sure people are understanding that this is a kind of a ongoing thing. And so this particular conference is a little bit different than the past ones have been, in that we're like taking it to boots on the ground level, helping people to learn some advanced strategies, but enhanced creativity. I mean, that's really what we're endeavoring to do here. In the Seattle community, where so much of the tech industry around the world is centered, so these are the people that we're trying to reach that are engaged in building social media or electronic things to educate. I don't know if people remember the shampoo commercial from the 80s.
Not sure.
We were talking about this last night. They tell two friends, they tell two friends, they tell two friends, they tell two friends.
Right.
So much of the ideas that we have when we bring the kinds of people that come to our conferences, that they go home and network the message. They become delegates and ambassadors for the kinds of things that are learned at these conferences, and ideally take them back home to their communities and propagate a message of hope and optimism.
Point is to get inspired.
Yes, inspire people.
So that's right. That's what happens when you get inspired.
And activate them, and actually activate them to do something. We're well aware, because we go to a lot of conferences and read the what do you say, best practices about conference organizing, this idea of a sugar high. So people go to a 2 or 3 day event. On the Sunday, they are just lit up about new ideas and inspirations to do things. Then the Monday comes, then the bills come.
Then you're back in your mode.
Then you're back at work in the morning, and you're fighting the traffic. And all too frequently, it certainly happens to me too, that enthusiasm rapidly wanes. So we're alert to that phenomena and that unfortunate circumstance, and hope to give people tools and enough inspiration to actually go home and stay connected with the people. Another huge thing that we really emphasize, other conferences say this, but we build it into the program. It is very important to us that we make new friends and new connections and new colleagues from minute one. So that's why we include the meals and the ticket price and the cocktail party and things, is to keep everybody in the same experience for 48 hours.
I can just say, speaking from experience, having done a number of ANP events in the past, that is definitely true. That what's nice about the events that you have organized, and I just want to say, like, you really organize beautiful events for attendees and for the speakers. Like, I think everyone really has always enjoyed them. But yeah, it's a very, it's an easy type of an event for everyone to interact with each other, and for the attendees to interact with the speakers and presenters as well. So all of that, I think, really does work.
And the kinds of people we bring to our events aren't doing it for the paycheck. They are doing it for the opportunity to connect with other people, and the opportunity to present their materials to a receptive audience.
That's right.
So that really shows in what you just said, that it's not like we have to wrestle the presenters out of their hotel room to engage with the audience. They want to do it.
So I think we got about 7 or 8 minutes that we'd scheduled for this. Do you want to get into any of these other speakers before we kind of close it up?
Sure, briefly. It's better that people take a look at the interviews and the biographies that are on the website, anpconference.com. So just to finish the list, a man named George Kavasilis from Australia, fortunately just happens to be in the area, so it's affordable for us to have him as part of the conference. Boy, he's got some really interesting ideas about creativity, and he's an awesome presenter. All these people are great presenters, of course, but George particularly has this very warm, engaging demeanor that, as he talks about some really outside-the-box ideas, that are very much on point to the theme of this conference. Then Chris Harding is a man in Ashland, Oregon, one of our staff or team members at the library, who is going to co-present with another friend of ours, Will Wilkinson, Will Wilkinson and Chris Harding have authored several books together. They are career coaches, life coaches, authors, workshop leaders, and believe very, very much in the work that we do at the library, and of course the conference too, so we're glad to have them there.
Just want to mention with Will, of course conducted interviews of all of the speakers for this event, including one with myself, including one with Tracey, and I'm sure with all of the others, and these are all available on the YouTube channel or on the website?
Well, both, but the easiest portal is anpconference.com. The speakers page is where all those interviews are prominently.
They're all about 20 minutes long too, which the ones that Tracey and I did, we were both very pleased.
Yeah, they're all good.
With talking.
They're great. They're great. They're all great. It's just exciting to see this come together and to feel the enthusiasm as organizer, to feel the enthusiasm and genuine, sincere interest in
absolutely
applying their craft.
And we've got this person.
And this is Lori Lorenz. She's actually not a presenter. She's my original collaborator with hatching the idea of Architects of the New Paradigm. This idea was actually conceived in about 2004, Architects of the New Paradigm Conference Series. We didn't take it off the shelf until 2015, but boy, Lori and I have had so many coffee shop conversations about some of the things that I just said. This kind of, I'll keep calling it an idealistic approach, a theory about how we can.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being idealistic. Like we want to have ideals. I just feel like the idea of architects of a new paradigm, it's a cool idea because I think a lot of us feel that we are moving into something new. And it's hard to know exactly what it is until you're in it. So we're just kind of feeling our way through for a while. But like you and Lori Lorenz and the people working with you have sensed that we want new ideas, new solutions for a new world. I mean, is that kind of somewhat accurate?
It's accurate. When I hear it phrased that way, I know how people kind of almost grimace at that it's too idealistic and to perhaps, yes, new ideas for a new world. Yes, create a new paradigm. Do it in I'm not sure the word, maybe you can help me with the idea that it's not a, what's the word for it? We're going to tell you how it is, people. So it's not the leaders of a society necessarily spelling it out for the rest of it. It's much more egalitarian, is that the word for it?
Well,
level the playing field.
My goal is simply to scare the hell out of people first in the first half and then help them find solutions to get out of that in the second. Not exactly, but a little bit.
Like, something to be said for that.
I like to look at what I perceive as genuine problems that we are all facing in this world. And particularly with the new ongoing tech revolution that is happening, I'm looking at 5G, pervasive surveillance, pervasive, all-encompassing, like no escape from the all-seeing eye.
Artificial intelligence.
AI definitely coming on board, the algorithms that will be monitoring our behavior, monitoring our thoughts and words. All of that's happening. Like, that's absolutely happening, and all that we have to do is, we need to absolutely create legal structures to protect people from ultra-intrusive snooping into our lives. The capability will be there, but at least we can try to put laws in place. And then the other thing we can do is find ways of maintaining our areas where we can be free and where we can be healthy. And to me, again, that's the core of creativity is maintaining a sense of independence in this world. To me, that's the single most important thing that I care about. And so I just brought my own little predilections into this event here. I thought, well, we're going to talk about creativity. That's my take on it. So
the artificial intelligence piece, which was a lot of the reason we wanted to bring you back to this particular conference, because you have studied that and have spoken very articulately about the challenges there. So this gets to the idea about it's not an all of a airy-fairy, just think positive kind of a thing at all. This is another thing that kind of separates us from other conferences. So this is why we use the phrase down the rabbit hole, blinders off, and ideas like that to say that we're not blind to the true challenges and the scope and where these challenges are ultimately came from and the meta ideas, but then balance that with innovative and creative solutions that, again, aren't only coming from the podium and from the stage. We really want to hear from the audience, and especially in the second day intensives is where that happens, because we know and have experienced at every conference some extraordinarily interesting, smart, intelligent, wise, caring ideas have come from the audience, and that's the exciting kind of wild card. We can't script that into our website. It's the kind of stuff that happens in an organic, emergent kind of a way in real time. It's really exciting to see how that happens. I know our time is just about up. Richard, thank you, buddy. So glad you and Tracey are part of this. It's going to be a fantastic event, and we got a great group of speakers again.
They've all been great.
They really have.
Like you've done the 5. I've been to many of them. I've loved them all, and the feedback is great. And then you really produce them nicely. They're nice looking events as well as everything else about them. So we're March 21st, 22nd. Please check the link, anpconference.com, and we'll have links to the RVML Community Resource Center as well. Coolest library ever, and your YouTube channel, which, by the way, you've got at the RVML, you have a huge cache of old lectures.
Thank you for putting that bit
You
in.
just
I
got to
know our
like,
time's up.
people really have to see this.
We have material in a comprehensive way, video recordings of conferences and other things that you will not find elsewhere.
No.
Not all of that's on our YouTube channel yet.
It's all going up, though.
Our unique
all
content
going
that
up.
we produced ourselves, our lecture series and other smaller events we've done in Ashland, that's on the YouTube channel. But in our lending collection is DVD recordings of an extraordinary amount of things that you're just not going to find anywhere else. And I beg people to come to Ashland, Oregon. If you're a legitimate bona fide researcher, please contact us and we'll accommodate you to lend through the mails.
All these years, you've had basically an analog collection of all of these things, but like getting it all digitized, that's a hassle. But you are actually in the process of uploading new videos that people have never seen. Never seen.
Really great
We're
content
talking
there.
classic, I mean, really obscure but interesting classic lectures going back in the 90s. Maybe even any further back than that?
Not that we've produced ourselves, but we have, like, you know, some of the first lectures given by Nassim Haramein, for example. Leslie Kane gave her first public lecture for us in Ashland in 2003 or so, which I'm very proud of, to put Leslie Kane on the podium for the first time. Who else has spoken for us that you're not going to find anywhere else? James Fox is about to release an incredible film, Phenomenon, that's just about to drop. He gave a really interesting lecture for us that almost nobody has seen when he was still doing his I Know What I Saw film. In fact, it's the premiere of that is what that lecture is about. A man named William Bramley, who wrote a book called The Gods of Eden, gave a lecture for us that nobody's seen, hardly. Lots of interesting stuff there that you're not going to see anywhere else.
We'll just direct people to the YouTube channel, which will be linked, and more uploads to come. All right, Jordan Pease, thank you very much.
See you in Seattle. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.